Hey, I just rented.
Why is every higher
crazy.
found?
Everybody mount up. Maybe they
in combat, they are in combat, yeah.
Nice.
My lord, we're so
2-0, 2-0, 2-0. Come to the castle, come to the castle. We flipped the shit. Sugaku started massing already. Come. They're calling the entire Koa.
I swore I'd block your number for good, but here
Hit the gate, 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 someone. Yo, if you have DPS, look on the gate. 5, 4, yo, listen, come north with them, come north with them, come north with them, come north with them, come north. Look on the gate here. Listen, they can defense. On the gate. 5, on the 5. Come. Hold them. 5, on the gate. 4, 3, 2, 1, on the fucking gate now, Mutilate them. Come southwest.
They hit big.
Def me. Listen, hold it.
He's coming in more.
Catch northeast.
Ash walking.
Everybody, northeast, 5. Northeast,
Step
4.
away.
Northeast, 3, 2, 1. Northeast on the gate now. Rape them, boys.
The west in the corner.
Get put. Walk in. West
Yeah.
corner. West corner. 4, 3, 2, 1. West corner now. Walk in.
Oh, they're so split.
Walk in north.
On the wall. Come.
On the gate.
Behind us.
Rape it.
North again.
East on North room is the
Everybody click in. Pyramid scheme has finally conquered the pyramid in this area. Spread and brawl west.
Combat south.
Spotter south. Okay, everybody listen. Spread in the middle. I need middle. He's in the middle. Listen, wait.
Squad on the northwest side now.
Look in the middle. On me. Look. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On me now in the middle. And spread.
Northwest of you.
Let them hit each other. Spread. Stop. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. North side now. And come north. Spread. Okay, listen. Get out. It's fine. Be ready. Get pot walk in. Walk in. Spread. Get over the walls now. Get pot. West deep. Come. 5. West deep. 4, 3, 2, 1. West deep now. Wipe this shit. Heal us inside. Okay, everybody listen, we're gonna click it. Southwest, come closer. Walking. I G8.
One coming.
He's crossing the line. Southeast, listen, kill everybody inside. Click out. Everybody click out. Come catch him.
They're hawking the southwest watch.
Run fucking over now, you fucking
They're stepping up.
Care. You will stacking, boys. You need to spread.
3 gallons dismounted west of us.
I'm gonna take
I will stop
Your mic is fucking up.
Yeah, don't speak too loud.
Okay, come north west.
Speak calmly.
Spread.
Left up.
To the east. Spread and roll inside of us. Come northwest. Spread. Keep the east. Spread.
There is 27 young discontinuer.
Okay. Spread. Advance, keep on everybody. West side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. West side now.
East of you.
Go west inside of them. Go west inside of them. I need a stream. Go west inside of them. Keep walking west. Keep walking through them and take west side. Take west side.
Go
through. I need a stream.
Stop Judy's.
Cleanse the choke. Get inside the terry. Cleanse the choke. Heal outside. Get inside the terry. Bro, inside of us. The are we dying to this shit? Spread. Kill this fucking gala. Hold. Look south. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. South side now. I killed Sony and Heiner maybe. Hold. Look outside. Heiner is dead. Spread. Everybody spread now. Everybody spread. You win this shit. Spread, boys. You don't have colors. Spread the fuck out. 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 I know. I can't right now. Spread. Def north. Listen. Look northwest. Everybody. Look northwest. 5. Come. Northwest. 4. 3. 2, 1, northwest now, and spread boys,
one front is threatening our east.
Spread, come east, spread boys, I need you to spread everywhere, I need you to spread everywhere, look north of the terry, look north side now, okay, listen, spread southeast, spread southeast, we're gonna look, spread southeast, everybody come southeast, round them southeast, come to me, okay, come catch him, come catch him, rape them everywhere, come catch, listen, someone go cover the hideout, fucking dogs!
Nice.
Eek your mask till I die! Okay, listen, click back in if you're low, click back in if you're low, click back in if you're low, okay, come east, run down heralds on the east, heal me, okay, heal me, boys, this is fucking crippling, like, what are we doing, spread northwest. Geek pot.
10 seconds for some.
Geek pot. Look inside of us on the west side. Defense. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inside of us on the west side now. Inside of us on the west side now. And spread south. Spread south with the mage. Spread south with the mage. Stream. I need someone to stream. Spread south with the mage. Spread south with the mage. Is anybody in the map? Spread south. Are we wiped? Like I don't have 5. Get out.
Our fighting accepted already.
Are you?
Allies are fighting in Balm, have
That's fine. Shit. Listen, keep rolling for south and survive. You need to queue for you, okay? Spread. 3. Spread. Are you? Bro, get out of the fight, Rixel. Get out of the fight, bro. Unload. Wait. Keep fighting. Come north. Dismount around. Get off. Spread.
Even get you one target.
Come north. Look north.
Help Casper now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. North now. And heal me. Spread.
Valhalla 50%
Push
on
it west
approach.
side.
Okay, spread.
Valhalla 50% on approach.
Get out of the fight! Valhalla is queuing us out!
They're not doing it.
Let's get out of the fight. I know what I'm telling you. Just get the fuck out of the fight. Why are you inting sets into them? Just fucking leave.
Do Casper.
Heal. Spread. Look in the middle. 5, in the middle. 4, 3, 2, 1. In the middle now. I'm wiping them. Spread.
Inner's almost dead.
Bro, Sony on days.
Sonny's almost dead.
Bro, Sony on days.
Spread and heal. Find your pockets.
Everybody give pot. Them roll. Spread them
Find
roll.
your safe spot.
Spread them roll. Come, listen. Everybody comes out. Gate pot comes out. Everybody comes out. South on me. Come. 5 on me. 4, 3, 2, 1. South on me now.
They're watching from west. Heinemann is watching from west.
Help west.
Everybody walk west. Everybody walk west. Everybody gate pot walk west. Everybody west. Come west.
Guys, they're still fighting. They're close to you.
West deep. Come. 5, 4, 3, 2,
Fuck it up.
West deep now.
Get shot and go through pop.
West even, it's fine. Come inside. Defense south deep. Come, everybody south deep. Come, south deep. Come, everybody. Omni 5. Come, 4, 3, 2, 1. On me now, on me now, on me now, on me now. Rape them here, 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 rape them here. Spread. South, careful now, south. Careful south. Careful south. Gate pot now. They're walking in. Defense north. Defense north. Listen, turn south. Everybody look in the middle. Come, in the middle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In the middle now. Rape them in the middle. And spread. Spread. Look high north. Care. Spread away from him. Defense. Listen. Spread. Look south on the choke, boys. Care south. Hold him, tanks. Hold him. South on the choke. Defense. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On the choke now. Nice. Walk in south. Get bot and walk in south. Everybody come south. South on the wall. Come south. Come. Listen, spread. Look north side. Defense. North side. 5. North side. 4, 3, 2, 1. North side now. And spread. Kill Ensoron inside. Spread. He's gonna engage. Spread. He's engaging. Defense south. You're fine. Look at Ensoron, boys. On him. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit him now. Rape him. Care. Spread. Kill Ensoron inside. Kill him. Come to Mesh. Can we catch on the Mesh? Care, defense. Walk in. East here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. East side now. Rape them. Full wipe. Spread. Come southeast and spread.
They have a lot on the east side.
North along.
Come southeast and spread. Come south. Okay, come with me. South. Come south. Spread. He's looking on the west wall. Care on the west wall. Spread. He's looking defense. Spread. Keep them in the middle, boys. Look east. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. East side now. Kill the east side and spread. Defense south. Boys. Come north. Hold north side. I need to wait for my Zerg to regear. Come north side. Care. Hold. They're gonna push into us. Hold. Tanks, hold. Kill Heiner. Nice. Come south. Everybody south. You need to walk them now. Walk them. Come south.
Hola, don't the west wall.
Def.
Don't scream.
F inside. Come south.
Eli's pushing from south.
Come south. Take the retort. Come on. Come to me on ping. Look south. South is huge. Come south. Come south. South on me. Come. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. South on me now. Rape it. Spread, boys. Spread everywhere, boys. Spread everywhere. Look under your foot. Spread. I can't go to the castle. Spread, boys. Spread. Careful on the west wall. Careful. Look west side. Look west side. Look west side. 5. Come. 4, 3, 2, 1. West side now and get out. Get out after. Bro, like, you cannot just fucking lose 50 people before I zone, bro. Here. Glance us.
Heiner is looking.
Defense. Come north. Everybody inside the terry. Come north inside the terry. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. North inside the terry now. And spread the fuck out. Everybody use defensive, spread the fuck out. I need you to go anywhere. Care south. Spread anywhere. They're gonna try to one-shot me. Care on me. Heal me. East. Push towards east. Push towards east. Heal the middle. Push towards east. Come. East. 5 on the wall. 4, 3, 2, 1. East on the wall and defense. And spread. Spread. Tanks stay inside of them in the east. Tanks stay inside of them in the east. Stay inside of them in the east. Stay inside of them.
Find some
Tanks.
empty
Stay inside of
seats
them.
to shield
Stay
me.
inside of them. Stay inside of them. Come from my side. Come from my side. Hold. Care. They're gonna pull. Care. Defend. Defend on me. Defense 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 on me. Look east on the mage. East. Come. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. East side now. 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 And spread. Spread. Come back northwest. Come back northwest. Heal me. Spread. Everybody defend. Come east. Defend. Come east. East. Come east. So again, everybody click out. Thanks, hold him. Come. Geekpot walk in. South deep. Everybody come. 5. Come.
Watch out, bam, 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 west.
2, 1 and defense. South and defense. And spread the fuck out now. Spread the fuck out. Defense in the middle. Defense outside. Come, click back in. No, I'm not. Hold. Defense outside. Spread.
They're pushing from southeast.
They're walking in from both sides.
Insurance southeast.
Get west. Defense west.
Okay, just dive in tower, just dive in.
Spread. Don't go north. Spread. Look west side.
Bomb
5,
south, bomb
4,
south, bomb
3, 2,
south.
1. West side now. Boys, why are you running north, man? Get the fuck out, man. Fuck me. Spread and get down. This is just fucking stupid, man. Spread and get down. Perfect. Again, thank you guys for coming. We did fuck up, but we were pressured and we were outnumbered. Why? Don't ask me why we're outnumbered. I have no clue why we're outnumbered. We had I told them last time.
Run for your life, cause it might get hideous. Why so serious?